back to episode 2 of Withstanding the Storm. I am Storm Thomas.
I'm Lady Jan.
Thank you guys very much. Everybody who tuned into the last episode, everybody who left comments or sent us direct messages. I got a lot of direct messages. I don't know if you got any.
I got a few.
There was a lot of constructive criticism, which we asked for, and I swear to you, I appreciate it. As you can see, we're set up a little bit differently tonight. I want to give a huge shout out to my boy Brandon, who suggested us switching sides and just trying out a couple of different looks and seeing which one fits. I think that's a great idea. So we're trying it. Another huge shout out I want to send to a friend of mine who gave us some more tips and ideas about humanization was the term she used. She said that we didn't seem like we were forcing anything. We didn't seem like we were trying to be larger than life. Let's be honest, we're not. And she said that it was very humanizing. So I appreciated that feedback as well. And I want to kind of keep with that theme and keep with that motto and, share my appreciation that you even took the time to tune in. Hopefully you're watching this episode as well. I do want to...
If you're not, you should be.
If you're not, you should be, but if you're not, how do you know you should be if you're not getting this message? Hopefully people are sharing it, people are liking and commenting. I feel like we got a decent amount of views, some pretty good substantial likes. Not to jinx it, high five, nobody disliked it, so that was pretty dope.
We didn't get any tweets about it, but then again, I didn't tweet.
We suck at Twitter. Hopefully you guys are following us on Instagram. We put up a poll this week to see what you guys wanted us to discuss, if you had any ideas, topics, questions, comments, concerns. And one of the things that I got more than once was that people wanted to hear our story. And they wanted us to talk a little bit about our relationship because, and specifically, I made a comment on the last episode where I said we are somewhat happily married. Take it with a grain of salt. I'm honest, I'm real. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you that we have a fairy tale story or that we have a fairy tale relationship, because we don't.
Nobody does. Spoiler alert.
That's the key. So that's some of the things that we're going to jump into tonight. But before we jump into that, I want to express my gratitude and I want to give thanks because we have had the opportunity to have our very first sponsor on Withstanding the Storm, and it's only episode 2. So it means a lot that anybody would want to reach out and sponsor an episode. As you guys can tell, I don't know if you noticed in the last episode, but if you look around here, you see that we wear a lot of Future Legend gear. Future Legend has been my sponsor in wrestling for the last couple of years now, and I wear their clothes without even thinking about wearing their clothes, which we did in the last episode, and it was taken notice of. You can see we do family photos. My gear is Future Legend. So huge shout out to Future Legend for sponsoring this episode. Future Legend Apparel was built on inspiring people to chase their dreams, give back, and make a difference. What started as just your standard t-shirt company has now become a movement. From t-shirts, hoodies, fitted hats, snapbacks, compression training gear. You can see Future Legend worn by some of the biggest names in sports and entertainment today, such as Austin Theory,
good friend,
TJ Perkins, Chris Masters,
yep,
Moose, myself, Casey Navarro, and many, many others. Go ahead and take a trip over to futurelegend.com. Pick up some of your own gear, visit the shop, and let them know that Storm sent you. Tweet them, DM them. I'm going to go ahead and link all of their information in the video so you can get a direct shot right to the website and check out their gear, and then you can wear the same stuff I wear.
I love the lounge pants. I don't know what they're really called. I'm so sorry, but they're like the lounge pants. And then my History in the Making shirt that I wore at the last episode, it's like my favorite shirt. I didn't even realize that I was wearing it, and someone was like, "That's a dope shirt because it's your first episode." And I was like, "Oh, wow, that's so cool."
Yeah, sometimes the subliminal messaging doesn't hurt either. So let's get right into the topic tonight that we're going to discuss, which is our relationship. For those who don't know, Jan and I have been together for 15 years, and we have been
Sorry, basic math. Yes, okay.
we've been happily married for almost 12 full years now. And again, I mentioned in the last episode that our relationship started in a very small town of Oskaloosa, Iowa. We were both college athletes. I was a junior. Jan was a freshman when we met. And not to sound cliche, but there was definitely something from the moment we met. We didn't know each other, but we had a mutual friend who literally forced us to get to know each other. There were a couple of key players in us starting our relationship.
Yes.
Big shout out to Whitney and Cheyenne. Hopefully you guys are watching. I'm going to tag you so you do watch this.
I feel like we should have them on to be like, so the inside story, can we have it out after a few years? And
Well, here's the
ladies.
thing. There's three sides to every story. You're going to hear some of my story. You're going to hear some of Jan's story. Somewhere laying right here in the middle is going to be the full truth, which we will have to...
Whitney and Cheyenne only know the truth.
We will have to talk to them about that at a later time. So the way I remember us meeting, I was a resident assistant in the male dorm, and it was move-in time for the football team. So we all had to be there early. The soccer team was there early, so Jan was already moved in, and her and a few of the other soccer girls came over just to help us get people moved in, make things faster. Again, William Penn is a very small university, so we did things a little bit bigger than we should have, and like other universities don't do.
Very service oriented. So it was like expected, like, oh, hey, you moved in last week, somebody was here to help you, now it's your turn to give back. So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, so the football team would go help other teams move in. It looks good to the parents. It looks good to the siblings as, you know, you're dropping your kids off for their first time in college to see all these helping hands. Once all the dust settled and everybody got moved in, we were all just kind of hanging out in the lobby. And I, joking with Whitney, told her that I could use a massage because I had done a lot of heavy lifting that day. And we played a lot of...
Did you really? Did you really move anything for anybody, or did you do heavy lifting with your mind?
I'm a businessman, so sometimes it's easier.
These muscles are for sports entertainment show only. Don't ask him to help you move.
Big facts. I will not help you move any of your furniture at your house, apartment, or complex.
And if he does, you are blessed and loved.
Back to the story. I was delegating work. I had done my fair share of heavy lifting, but we had done a lot of pranks in years prior, in weeks prior, and days prior.
You and Whitney?
Yes.
Okay.
So she said, okay, no problem, close your eyes. Close my eyes, and I started getting these hands just digging into my traps and my shoulders, and I was like, oh man, that feels good. And I hear this voice from over in front of me, and it said, yeah, I bet that does. And that was Whitney's voice, and I was like, well, if that voice is over there, who's touching me? And somehow she convinced this young, innocent freshman to start massaging my shoulders.
When you're captain of your team, that you're like, you know, you've just met, you're good friends though, Whitney still gave it up to you, was like, hey, go do this, and you're just like, dude, what? Like, okay, like, whatever, like, yeah, that's what
enjoyed
we did.
it. But that's literally what got the ball rolling. I had just stopped playing football, and I had all of my attentions and efforts into working with the admissions office, with recruitment, and giving tours of the university, and fulfilling my obligations as a resident assistant in the dorms. So I was really good friends with a lot of the wrestlers who were also resident assistants, and because they were out of season, and half of them dated soccer players, we found ourselves at a lot of games. And I'm not gonna lie, I thought Jan was very attractive from the moment I saw her. I thought she had a great body. I thought she was a hell of an athlete, which is what really attracted me to her, was watching her practice. I'm a big proponent of practice how you play. And if you go out there and half-ass it and lollygag, that shows, and that's going to show in your performance on the field. But even when they were at practice and just running scrimmages, like, she was hustling. She was diving for the balls. because she played in the goal. And I was like, I have never seen a woman move like this before. Like, literally just getting dirt in her face and kicking ass and taking names. So I was intrigued at least to be her friend. And then, of course, you had Whitney and Cheyenne chirping in Jan's ear. And
well,
then,
hang on. You're missing something I think is integral to our story.
which is?
I smacked you in the back of the head before we'd ever really formally been introduced. After...
Yeah, which wasn't even my fault.
No, but, I mean, apologies several years later. I will admit that it wasn't your fault, and I'm sorry. But, what was it, like 3 weeks into school?
I don't even think we'd started classes yet. We were still doing two-a-days, and I was sitting at the table having lunch with my buddies and the head security officer at the university. And he had made the comment something about the women's football team, the women's soccer team. And he was like, yeah, hopefully we get a better goalie this year because that other girl last year was horrible. Now,
Cue, the women's soccer team is all walking by at this point.
most importantly, Jan is walking by at this point. And when she hears that last year's goalie was horrible, that sparked a fire in her because last year's goalie was her sister. She also had a fire lit under her because she thought I said it. So instead of saying, hey, excuse me, what did you say? She literally just walks past, smacks me in the back of the head, and keeps on trucking like nothing happened.
And you know, in hindsight, truthfully, I must have had like the Spirit of God confidence level in me because I don't know why I did that. I don't know why I felt confident to do that. Number one, we hadn't really ever talked. And number two, why I felt confident enough to do it with zero repercussions. So, a bit awkward to think back on. But yeah, I did smack him. If you've ever seen the cartoons when you smack someone and their head like ricochets off the table, we were almost there. It was a pretty good smack. He didn't see it coming. Table went silent. Then they all started laughing.
Yeah, didn't see it coming because I didn't say it.
You didn't. It came out later that it was the head security guard. And
But
I
here's
didn't know how to say sorry.
But here's the thing. Again, I'm like a grown child. I'm like a big kid. I love to play games. I love to work out. I love to be active. Getting into video games. I saw that as like when a kindergarten or first grade girl likes you and they push you down in the sand and they act like they don't like you, but they really, really like you. So I immediately took this as a challenge. And without diving too deep, there was quite a few of these little back and forth scenarios between the two of us that ultimately led us to finally just saying, hey, why don't we go on a date? And we did. And, you know, the date was good. We had a great time.
We were the youngest ones at the restaurant by about 60 years. He drove me over an hour. Very great restaurant. The Amanas, if you ever make it to Iowa, you should go. The Brick House, big shout out. I don't know if they have a Facebook. We should tag that. But that's where he wanted to take me. It was great because we talked. I like car rides. I'm cool with it. I don't know that any other girl would have been cool to just get in a car with someone they hardly know and just drive off into the Iowa back roads, but it worked out.
Look, it's all part of the plan, more or less. You have to have an ample amount of time to get to know somebody. And where we went to school, it was a very small town. Everybody knows everybody's business, and you're never alone. So you never get that opportunity to just talk. And again, if you're not from the Midwest, you don't understand. If you are, you get it. The Amanas is like top-notch food. And if you're there, you have to go. And that's where I wanted to go, so that's where we went. You know, and again, that's where the ball really got rolling. One date turned into two turned into 5, 10, and it became an official thing for us at that point. Again, we're not going to delve into every story too deep, or we'll be here for 6 hours. But
there's some good ones.
What I will say is a very huge staple of our relationship is nobody really wanted us to be together. her family wasn't a big fan of her having a boyfriend starting off as a freshman in college. They wanted her to get that college experience. I still don't know what that means.
Which is ironic.
Right. Yeah. So, my family really didn't seem to care at first if I was dating or not dating. And, we dated through the entire first semester. We did the whole long distance thing for college, for like Christmas break, and on and on and on. But we had a lot of obstacles, speed bumps, small towns, mountains, entire territories getting in our way from the point we got together until still today. There are very many obstacles that we currently face that make us want to pull each other's hair out, that make us want to pull our own hair out, that make us want to sleep on the couch. But when I look back at all of these, I wouldn't trade any of it for the world. And I'm not just saying that because I'm being recorded. I literally mean that. And I think that as much as it is a setback for so many people to be against you, we're built different. We're both very alpha. We're both very motivated and very driven. And I think that it actually pushed us to prove everybody wrong.
Well, yeah, I mean, for sure, but I mean, I'm a spiritual person, and I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you're who I'm supposed to be with. There was too many times where it was like, you weren't my type. And
No.
I've told you that before, and we've had that conversation, but like, he wasn't the person that I thought I was going to end up with. He wasn't the person I was looking for in a lot of ways, but in the best, most honest way possible, he is my other half.
I don't want you to sit here and think that you were my type or my
No, I know I
my
wasn't.
cup
I
of tea to start
definitely know
with
I
either.
wasn't.
Not to get into guys, when we sat down and put this podcast together, in its inception, we decided we don't really want to get too much into certain topics, politics, religion, etc., etc. So without diving too deep, Jan was born and raised very religious background, very much involved in the church, and so on and so forth. I myself, not so much. Bit of a heathen, bit of a free spirit, bit of a wild child. I did me to the fullest extent. So those two backgrounds right there didn't mesh. And there was a lot of give and a lot of take and a lot of compromise for this to even work. But yeah. I agree completely. There was always something there about you that made me want to compromise my wants, my desires, and put those on the back burner, because I could see literally from day one that there was something different, that there was something more, that you brought something else to the table that others hadn't in the past, or that others just couldn't. So, we dated or courted or whatever you want to call it, depending on what year you're watching this, for the rest of the time that I was studying my undergrad.
Wait a minute, did you say courting? Because we've been watching Bridgerton.
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay, keep going.
So we had been together for the better part of a couple of years.
Yep. And
I decided that it was time to really make this or break this. So Christmas break of my senior year, I went and spent every dime that I had. And I bought an engagement ring and a wedding band. My mother went and helped me pick it out. It was a really big deal. It was a huge thing. And I tucked it away. And I knew that I wanted to ask her at my graduation.
I feel bad I'm not wearing it right now, but COVID. You don't wear stuff on your hands because you gotta wash them so long.
COVID, and we've been together for more than 10 years. I haven't worn a ring in over 6.
Because he lost it at the gym.
Right. I don't need a piece of jewelry to define who I am. I don't need a piece of jewelry that tells anybody that I'm married or not married. My actions speak for themselves. My words speak for themselves. I have you tattooed on me multiple times. Nobody would even know it because of how I've done it, but it's there. So fast forward to graduation. I've got this whole plan. My graduation party is the day after graduation. My mom has the ring. We're going to do it at the graduation party. It's going to be great. It's going to be like an engagement / graduation party. I'm excited. I'm sitting in graduation. They had just called my name. I'm walking across stage, and I could see her, but she couldn't see me. And there was just, I don't know, call it romantic. I don't believe in that. But there was something in the air, and I was just like, I got to do this now. I got to do it right now. Like, I don't have an option. I have to do this right now. So I get on my little, I had a little flip phone back then.
I was gonna say, was it like a kick thing or? I
No,
don't know
no,
what
it was a little LG flip phone.
Okay.
And I texted my mom. I was like, "Do you have the ring?" And she goes, "Yeah." Why? I said, "I need it ASAP." As soon as graduation, they let us out and the ceremony was over and we started to walk out to the lawn. I dipped out of line, ran over to my mom, grabbed the ring, threw it in my pocket. Nobody knew a thing. So we're outside on the lawn in front of 500-600 people, different people's families that had come in to see their kids graduate. And I was like, you know what? I don't do things small or secretively. I blow everything out of the water. It's not always the best idea. Sometimes it bites me in the ass. Other times, pays off. So Jan starts to walk away, and I said, "Hey, Jan, hey, come here, turn around." And she turned around real quick, and she was going to be like, "What?" I'm down on one knee. I've got the box in my hand, and she just starts bawling.
Well, at first, he was wearing white pants, and I was like, "You're gonna get your," and then like it registered, and then I was speechless because I didn't see it coming, and I didn't see you asking me coming.
Right.
Like, I knew we were at that point probably, but because of everything else that was going on, that was like the furthest thing from my mind.
And what she means by everything else is, at this point, we had basically lost contact by choice on both sides with her side of the family. Again, 2 years prior, they didn't really think it was a good idea that we date. There's just something about certain people you don't like or don't agree with, and for whatever the case may be, Jana's side of the family and I never really saw eye to eye, no matter how much I tried, no matter how much I wanted to, no matter how much I cost myself or tried to change myself. It wasn't good enough. And I didn't realize until much later why that was. And I'll get to that in a little bit.
I don't think I helped though. You can't take all the responsibility.
No, but
I'm my own person, and I do things differently, and I haven't helped myself in relationships in my life. So.
Well, that, and I'll give a little bit of credit where credit's due. Your dad looked right at me and said, "You'll never be good enough for my daughter," and I never understood that because I thought I treated you with the utmost courtesy and respect. I gave you everything you ever wanted or needed, given the means of a college senior. And I didn't ever realize that until I became a dad. And now I look at both of my daughters and I'm like, there is no man that will ever be good enough for these two. I just want to learn from that.
Right.
And at least be accepting and understanding of their wants. So at that time it was really tough for us because Jana and I were going to be moving to Florida. I had a job lined up to be a personal trainer, and she was going to spend the summer with me and my family. And everything was all sunshine and rainbows until about 6 weeks into the summer. And I don't care who you are. I don't care where you're from or how much you like somebody or love somebody. When you live with somebody, you really get to see their true selves. But also, you get to see your true self around that person. And that's where the first real falling out came with my side of the family. Again, like I said, this isn't a great story. It's not the happiest of stories.
You might get some heat for this.
Bring it. Bring all the
all
heat.
from our families.
I want the smoke. I don't mind it.
I mean, I talk to my external family now. It's just my internal.
Right.
Isn't that what it is? Internal?
You don't talk to your immediate family.
Immediate. That's what it is. See? Wow. I need more of this stuff over here.
At least you're cute.
At least I'm cute.
So we had our first big fallout with my family, and they actually sent her back to Iowa on a plane.
That was fun.
Because
we laugh about it now.
Oh yeah, we joke about it all the time now. Again, it's been years and years and years. At this point, we were just engaged. Anyway, long story short, my mom and Jana just didn't seem to get along, and my mother thought it was best that Jana leave. So she left. And again, me being very stubborn, me being very young, me being very opinionated and set in my ways, I dropped everything I was doing. I was working as a personal trainer. I was making decent money. I hated the hours. And more than anything, I hated that she was in Iowa and I was in Florida. And I just started randomly applying to jobs. And I got a call from Walmart in Oskaloosa, Iowa. Mind you, I'm in St. Petersburg, Florida, and they're offering me a job in the photo lab to develop photos. They're going to put me on a 90-day probation, and then they want me to go to manager training and become a manager at their store. And literally, first thing I said is, you're going to tell me you don't have one qualified person in Oskaloosa, Iowa who's going to take this job. You want me to move up here and take this job. And again, this is where I think fate was intertwined, or, whatever you believe in, whether it's God, whether it's, Allah,
karma.
Whether it's karma, whether it's the universe, something played a part in that.
Thanos.
I looked dead at my parents and said, hey, thank you. I love you. I want you in my life, but I don't need you. And I'm going to prove that because I'm moving to Iowa. And everybody's jaws just dropped. Like, what do you mean you're moving to Iowa? I was like, I just got offered a job at a Walmart. Things are going to be tough, but I can afford it. And I'm going to go be with Jana. I packed up my little Dodge Neon from wall to wall, from floor to ceiling, and I drove all the way to Iowa. I got there with a couple days to spare. I got cleaned up. Met with a few friends, and actually I found a place to live really quick. Or so I thought. I was
so glad you came too, because it was so hard having him so far away, and I was struggling. It was my junior year. I was taking way too many classes. I was on the golf team at that point. I had never played golf competitively. And I got a phone call and they said, hey, do you have a set of clubs? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, great, you're on the women's golf team now, because they'd started a program and they needed another player so they could form a team. And that was really hard to step into that realm and then have you so far away, because at that time, you really were my only support.
And it was you were at college by yourself for the first time.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, because when we started dating, it was like November of my freshman year. But yeah, like I was truly on my own, because at that point I had nothing anymore. So
to spare you guys a lot of the ridiculous details, but they're fun though. We could get into this for hours, but we won't. I stayed in Iowa. I worked at the Walmart for a few months, and then another life-changing opportunity presented itself where I got to accept a position at William Penn University to be the coordinator of the Penn Activity Center, which was a $25 million recreation facility that I actually helped to develop some of the rooms and some of the programs that were going to take place once that facility opened. as part of one of my classes at the university, I had to do an internship, and I did it with the director at the time. And he was looking for a coordinator. Multiple people applied. Multiple people were offered before I offered, but the hours sucked. The pay was worse, but it was my opportunity, and it was like it literally lined up perfectly for what we were trying to do. With this new job came a lot of great benefits, and we just looked at each other literally in like January, February, and said, why are we waiting? Like we hadn't even been engaged a year, and we were like, what are we waiting for? We're just gonna get married right now.
Yeah, because we'd always talked about waiting until I graduated college and I had a job and was a little bit more settled.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very much so, I think both of us separately were like, wait a minute, why are we waiting? And so we just decided we're gonna get married in 3 months.
Yep. So in 3 months, we put together what we thought was the perfect wedding for us. Made a few phone calls, explained to my parents, hey, this is really happening. So I'm gonna need you to change your attitudes. I'm gonna need you guys to either get on the train or get the hell off the tracks. And we're moving forward with or without everybody. And I think me making this move, making this drastic change in my life, but also proving that I could do it, and that I wasn't going to fail, and that I wasn't going to fold, and that I wasn't going to come crawling back with my tail between my legs, really proved to everybody that we were serious.
Yeah.
We got married in May, and let me tell you, we put together a dope little wedding for as cheap as humanly possible.
We were very blessed though. Like a lot of our wedding gifts were things for our wedding. Like my dress was handmade for me, and was gifted. The venue
was gifted.
The flowers, all of and I still have some things from that. Gosh, so many things. We were severely blessed.
Yeah. We were in a great place with a lot of great people who really cared about us, and I think that goes to, again, credit to the people at William Penn University and the family atmosphere that is there and that was there. And I think back a lot that how much we've grown, and gosh, if I could go back, what would I change? And to be honest, I wouldn't change any of it. Even today, if somebody said, hey, let's go renew your vows. How do you want to do it? Where do you want to do it? With this, that, and the other. Where would you want to celebrate that? And I would want to go do it in the Pack again.
Oh yeah, totally. I would just do it smaller. You want things until you do them, and then you think, hindsight's 20/20.
Mm-hmm.
But our wedding day was great. The only thing I would change is I would have just made it so much more low key, because in truth, we're very low key people. And I think, not that I became a bridezilla, because I don't think I did.
No.
I think I also kind of tried to adhere to like, oh, this is the checklist of things that you're supposed to do or have at a wedding. And like I tried to do that on a budget, and in hindsight I'm like, it was our day. I should have just done what we wanted to do and move forward. But it was great. It was beautiful. I wouldn't trade it for anything other than you smashing cake into my nose.
Cake.
I need more caffeine.
But then that was the start of our marriage. We had our first apartment, which was in the square. I loved that apartment. We spent an amazing 3 months there. Again, we're very ballsy. When we set our mind to something, we just do it. There's no questions. She had just finished her junior year. I was 6 months into my new job, and again, the pay sucked. The hours sucked. But we decided we weren't going to wait. We wanted to have a baby. We wanted to do it right here, right now. Wasted literally no time at all. And 11 months, 12 months after, no, 14 months after we got married.
Got married in May. We had her in June.
Yeah. So literally just not even a year, just a little over a year, we were having our first child. And
that was fun. I was in my senior year. I was supposed to graduate early. Something didn't happen with some other people. I got asked to take more classes to help other people. So I was 9 months pregnant, waddling across the stage to get my bachelor's. And the funniest thing is that everyone was terrified that I would go into labor because I was about 3 weeks away from my due date.
Yep.
And I snuck snacks into the ceremony because I was constantly hungry. And then I had to go to the bathroom, and I was seated right behind the professors, and they were like, just go. I'm like, if the pregnant lady gets up, they're all going to think that I went into labor, and everyone's going to freak out. And so I didn't, thankfully. But yeah, that was interesting. So I graduated with my bachelor's and had a kid and immediately started my master's.
Fast forward another 14 months after we had our first beautiful baby girl, we had our second beautiful baby girl. Again, we didn't really wait for too much.
No, you had finished your master's, we had Alyssa, and then I finished mine 6 months later.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, just after Alyssa was born, we decided it was time to, I feel like we had outgrown.
It was time to grow more.
Yeah, I feel like we had outgrown our current position in Oskaloosa, and when you start your own family and you do it away from everybody, mind you, Jan's from Idaho, I'm from Florida, we were in the middle of nowhere, and I had a couple cousins and aunts and uncles that were in Iowa.
Super supportive. They
were great, but it wasn't my immediate family. It wasn't her family, and we decided it was time to move. We had built a great little savings account.
You gonna tell them how we decided?
Had some wonderful gifts, you know, just sitting in a savings account. And we were like, look, we have X amount of money. We can make this work for X amount of months before we find the right jobs. Let's do this. So we decided to, you know, use our education that we just received. We both have master's degrees at this point. And make an educated decision. So we grabbed a quarter, we flipped it. Heads was Idaho, tails was Florida. Needless to say, we've been in Florida since 2012.
People don't believe that. It is incredibly, terribly true. I don't recommend it, but I also recommend it.
Yeah.
So, I will say I tried to do a whole 2 out of 3 after the first flip, but we had already agreed on paper that there would be one coin flip and we would go with whatever happened because we couldn't decide.
And let's be honest, I wanted to go to Florida.
He willed it into existence.
Oh yeah. I'm super close with my younger brother. And I had been away from him for like 8 years and missed a huge portion of his life because, again, I left in 2004 to go get my bachelor's. I moved home in 2008, and I was only home for 3 months. So I felt like I wanted to be close to him. I wanted to be close to my parents. And a lot of things had changed over the course of those years where, you know, Mom and Jan started to get along better. Mom had come up when the girls were born and helped out, which was great. So we moved down to Florida. We searched for jobs. We got jobs. Jan actually landed like a dream job, which she's still currently in the same place. I bounced around a little bit, found a couple jobs. We bought our first house, which
that's a story.
Which is a whole separate story for a whole separate podcast. We had a wonderful opportunity to get the girls into a great school.
Yep.
I started a job working at the same place as you.
Yep. That's weird sometimes, but we make it work. To a degree. We
sold our house and actually hit a huge profit. Shout out to opendoor.com. You're not sponsoring this. Go ahead and...
But thank you for your money.
I'm going to send you an invoice for this. I'm going to send you the same invoice that Future Legend already sent out. So you're going to get one in the mail. Just send me a check. But opendoor.com just reached out to us randomly, and they were like, hey, we're buying houses in your neighborhood. Are you interested? And we kind of like mulled over it. We bought the house super cheap. But again, these are just those little wrenches that get thrown into your life and really test you as a couple and as a partner. We sold the house and decided it was time to downsize for a little bit and just see where life was going to take us. We've been living in this wonderful apartment for the last 2 years, and we just bought our second house that we're currently working on renovations on. But
it'll be beautiful when it's done.
that's the Cliff Notes version of our story. You've seen some of the ironic, you've seen some of the bad. There's a lot of ugly involved, and we've had a lot of trials. What would you say was the biggest trial that we've faced together since we've been together?
That's a lot of history to try to, like, you put me on the spot here.
Yeah.
Let me address something while I'm gonna try to multitask. We'll see how that goes. But it's funny because you gloss over this, and we've had people tell us before. They're like, "Oh my gosh, you guys seem so happy and everything seems so perfect," and it is, but it isn't, right? But there's still these trials, and so like don't ever look at something from the outside and think that it looks absolutely perfect, because it takes a lot of behind the scenes work. And there are times that I haven't worked with you well. There are times that I don't want to work with you. But that's part of life, and those are relationships. Regardless of whatever kind of relationship you have to put in effort. Whether that's family, whether that's friends, whether that's your significant other, like, you have to put in effort. But I would have to say probably the hardest trial that I think that you and I have gone through has been kind of ongoing, is communication. Like, okay. I think that I struggle because I was raised to be a very strong person. Like, I will not fault that at all, and I hope that I'm raising my daughters to be that way, to stand up for themselves and that. But I was not raised to listen well, in my opinion. I wasn't raised to take constructive feedback or even destructive feedback well. And so I think that communication has been the biggest trial for us, because I have to learn how you communicate in general, how you communicate with me, and then I have had to figure out how to better my communication skills with you so that we can have the best level of communication, which leads to the best level of everything else.
I've said this a few times, and I try to advise friends of this. Communication doesn't matter. Hear me out. Comprehension matters. Because if I'm trying to communicate something to Jan and she's not understanding how I'm saying it because I'm not breaking it down to her level of communication, that comprehension will never be there. No matter how much I communicate, if that person doesn't understand, the communication is not effective. So that's one of the things I try to work on, is allowing other people to comprehend what I'm trying to communicate. I think one of the biggest struggles I face is not even in this relationship. It's within me, and it pours over into the relationship. But it's not just this relationship; it's every relationship I have had or probably ever will have. For those of you who follow astrology, I'm a Leo, and what that means is, for a lack of better terms, and I'm not going to sit here and make a lot of excuses, I'm very self-centered. I want things done a specific way. I want them done the way that I want them done, when I want them done, how I want them done. I am very much put me first and tend to everything else later. I'm very goal-oriented. I'm very driven. And I know that deep down in my heart, I don't mean to be like disrespectful about it, but I will get up in the morning and go do cardio without even asking if you need help getting the girls together. I will go to the gym for 2 or 3 hours in the evening if I'm having a stressful day, or if I'm freaking out about money or whatever the case may be, I'll just leave and go to the gym. Say, hey, I'm leaving. I'm going to the gym. And I notice it a lot. I don't even eat with my family. I don't. I eat my meals at my times for my nutrition plan, unless we're going out to a restaurant. Like, I don't eat with my family, and I put a lot of those things before other people and other things, and I know that that's something that I need to work on. And I think the biggest struggle has been recognizing that, and now at 35 years old trying to figure out how to better that and to be a little bit less selfish and a little bit more giving of my time and of myself.
Yeah, and I think we are our own worst critics. Like, you don't need to beat yourself up too much, because
I'm not. I'm just being honest.
It's good, because I appreciate honesty, but also I think that that's our biggest, as humans, that's our biggest fault. We'll see one small negative and we'll blow it up a little bit bigger. But no, I do think, like you said, comprehension of the communication is a good one. I feel like I weaseled out of your question there very well, but so did you slightly, so it's cool.
That's all right. It's our show. We can do what we want. What do you think is one of the best things about our relationship, though?
I think we laugh a lot.
Yeah.
I like to make people laugh because it's just, I've always done that. I like to make people laugh because then I feel like they can't be negative towards me. But you like to make people laugh because you don't want there to be any negative.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're constantly trying to find ways to make somebody laugh, or make others laugh, and get under someone's skin a little bit and kind of get that teasing going. And you have a great ability with that, and it's a beautiful balance. Like our youngest daughter and you guys go back and forth, but there's a point where you guys come back to that daddy-daughter kind of love, but you still will tear each other apart if given the opportunity.
Oh yeah, she can catch these hands. But I will also give her a hug as fast as she needs one. On my end, I don't know how other people are going to take this. I don't care.
It's fine. I'm a Sagittarius, so we got fire. So
Yeah.
What you got?
I think the thing that I like the most is that you push me, like you check me, you keep me in line, but you also push me to strive for better. I don't know if enable is not the right word, because you do let me get away with a lot, with my time, with my efforts, but it's not for nothing.
Right.
You've pushed me with wrestling. You've pushed me with this podcast. You've pushed me to crank out more content, to learn new.
I was like, yo, it's time to film again. What are we doing?
To learn new skills, to learn new things, and to constantly better myself. And I think that that's what I was always lacking, was somebody who pushed me. Because when I was a kid, I was naturally good at a few things, and my parents always supported me. And I love support. I love somebody who's going to pat me on the back when I do something good, but I need somebody to call me on my bullshit when I'm not doing good. I need somebody to push me when I'm not doing the best that I can do, or when they can see me slowing down, or when they can see me not putting in 100%. I need somebody who's going to check me and say, where's your head at? And I think that's one of the things that I appreciate about this relationship, is that we're both able to do that, and still, like you said about our youngest, I'm able to check you, you're able to check me, but we both come back at the end of the day and we're like, hey, we're good.
Yeah. Sometimes it's the next morning because one of us ends up on the couch.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's a relationship.
Let's
You
be
don't want to
real.
hear you're wrong until you want to hear you're wrong, and then you're fine with it.
Let's be real. This relationship has not been a Cinderella story. It has not been a Disney fairy tale.
I don't know. Maybe Disney needs to rewrite the fairy tales. I have as an adult now, I look at fairy tales and I'm like, whoa. Wait
That's
a minute.
because it's not for you. It's for kids.
But I'm sorry, Princess and the Frog was for me. Tiana's my favorite princess. She's a hardworking person. That was made for me.
No. That story was made for a child.
No.
And that's why there's always a happy ending.
I'm a
Here's
child.
the real world. We don't have happy endings. We have this thing called compromise. I can't always get it my way. You can't always get it your way.
But we'll sure try.
We're going to try.
Compromise.
And then we're going to compromise. We're going to make it all work. If there is anything...
Case in point, I wanted to drink my beverage tonight, but I had to put it in this cup because we're not sponsored by who I'm drinking.
No free brand deals.
Well,
We're not
I
even...
need my,
Let's
I
be
need
honest.
my diet soda.
Let's be honest. Or this podcast isn't even big enough to get a real brand deal. Like, we do have a sponsor for this episode, and again, shout out Future Legend. I love them. But it's not like they saw our podcast and said, we need to reach out to that guy. They've been sponsoring me for years.
That's true.
They want to support us. We want to support them. We're family, man. That's what we do. In closing, we really wrapped up 15 years into a very short podcast. I don't want to bore you guys. I don't want to...
Less is more.
Yeah.
Come back for more.
I don't want to scare anybody off either with some of the horror stories that we've been through, because we have. Leave a comment down below if you want us to get into some of those horror stories, because maybe we will. It just depends on if the views and the likes are right. But we wanted to just share a little bit of advice with you guys. You only live once. I've been here for 35 years, and I've never known anybody to come back and try it all again. Nobody's ever come back after passing and said, hey, here's what happens after you go. Find something that completes you as a human and that treats you with respect and courtesy and kindness. Understand it ain't going to happen 100% of the time, guys. No relationship is perfect. You show me a perfect relationship, I will show you liars.
We're human. Everyone's human.
Love unconditionally. Because the minute you put a condition on it is the minute you ruin the love. Love wholeheartedly. Again, if you half-ass it, it's not going to go right.
Forgive. I won't say quickly, because forgiveness is one of those things that you have to work towards, but at least start with forgiving yourself.
Yes. And remember that forgiveness is for yourself.
Yeah.
You don't have to forgive me because you didn't like my actions. Forgive me to lighten your load.
Yeah, because otherwise you're carrying around baggage that other person doesn't even have to carry around because they're probably oblivious to it.
9 times out of 10. But again, we just wanted to come share our story because that's what people asked about. We wanted to talk a little bit about our relationship and let you know that we're not perfect people. We're going to strive to be better. We're going to strive to be great. But we also understand that we're not perfect, so we don't expect perfect. I hope you were able to take something from this. I hope you were able to get a laugh, a little bit of enjoyment, or maybe it just took you out of your reality for a little bit. Again, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Huge shout out to Future Legend for sponsoring this episode. Mm-hmm. Much love to the team over there. Thank you for tuning in. Please check the links below. Give us a follow on Instagram. Give us a follow on Twitter. Shoot us some comments. Give us some constructive feedback on how we can improve. Let us know if you like the new seating arrangements.
There's not much else to where to go, so it's just going to be a shuffle.
Yeah, but is this more aesthetically pleasing with me on the left, or who knows? Also, if you get the opportunity, go check out my store at Pro Wrestling Tees. We are currently in the process of working on a design for this podcast. I think it would be super dope to have a Withstanding the Storm t-shirt. So we're currently working on designs for that right now. If you are artistic and you want to send us a design to look over, go ahead and DM us. yeah, I think it would be cool to have fan art involved. You know, so again,
Can't draw, so.
for Lady Jan, for myself, we thank you for tuning in and watching and viewing. Drop a like, leave a comment, share this video, tell your friends about it. We're just two people every day trying to withstand the storm, and we hope you do too. And hopefully we'll see you again soon.